Just to let you know, we're going to wait until 2 minutes past 2 to kick start.
Okay.
So just 1 more minute, if that's okay.
Do you have a list of who's joining?
I think Kathy will share it with us, Rob. We're live at the moment. Just going to wait 1 more minute and then we'll kickstart. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Today, we don't just have the London chapter, but we've also got people from the New York chapter and the Benelux. So welcome to you too. And I guess good morning to our New York members. Kathy, if you don't mind, do you mind if we just go to the slide? Before we kickstart the event, I just wanted to make you aware that there's a lot of virtual events that we're hosting in the next month or so, and everybody's very welcome to join. Many of you will know John Gilliard, who is the global, or who was the global head of Coronet Learning, and he's organized a series of events. They are entry level. So they're more for the kind of young leaders, but there's a series of them, and you'll see that his name is attached to those. So there's one on the 3rd of June, and he has different speakers. So he's got James Crisp on the one on the 3rd of June, then he's got Elliot Smith on the 17th of June, and then Sam Pickering on the 1st of July, I think. Those are the ones. And then next week, we've also got Neil Austin from the New York chapter, global head of Omnicom, and like Rob Lewin, has kindly agreed to let us interview him. And subsequently, 10th of June, Mark Anderson of Whitbread. And all of those are on our website and on the LinkedIn page. So please go there. The links will be there. So they're quite easy to register. And we host most of them on Webinar Jam, because clearly none of us can meet up. I hope everybody's coping with the lockdown. But these are the only kind of events that we can host at the moment. So without further ado, we have Robert Lewin, the Global Portfolio Director for British Telecom, who has very kindly agreed to join us for these informal chats about career path. So welcome, Robert. And I believe my line is not so good, but I think everybody can see Robert, which is far more important. So that's all well. Rob, can we rewind a little bit and go back to the beginning, early days of your, even before the career began, looking at your CV, clearly both the bachelor and then subsequent MBAs were clearly you'd already decided that, you know, real estate of some form was going to be for you. Can you just take us back to then? Was there a family member? Was there a mentor? Was there somebody in your life that had kind of opened up real estate to you?
Actually, no. So from my point of view, it was more of my own choice, of my own making. So for me, when I was sort of leaving school, I didn't really have a fixed pathway, didn't have a set view on where I wanted to go or quite what I wanted to do, and was originally going to sort of take the year out and have some fun. My parents were sort of pretty determined that actually a year was a long time, and actually they wanted me to go and find some sort of future for myself. And looking around, I was pretty clear I didn't want to do just a standard office job. I didn't want to be stuck in the same place, doing the same thing day after day. And the opportunity to do something like surveying, and actually the first course I did was an HND at Sheffield Polytechnic, as it was at the time, in land administration, which was all about the sort of the technical surveying, the basic valuation, basic sort of project management. And it was an opportunity to then sort of convert into the BSc degree course, the RICS tempting course. So for me, doing that was then a great opportunity to sort of move into the BSc course. As I said, that was a sort of sandwich year course, which was great because you got to sort of actually go and try some of the stuff you've been learning. Had a fantastic year. It was absolutely brilliant fun. Learned loads, saw loads, did loads, and it was great. It just fired me even more to want to do the final year and get it over and done with as quickly as possible, so I could actually get out into the real world and start, doing things that I wanted to do and work in the areas that I wanted to work in. Finishing the sort of degree course, I then was fortunate enough. I came out of university 1995, so the market was pretty poor.
Okay.
Graduate opportunities were pretty thin on the ground, but I guess I was probably one of the early lucky ones on my course to get a graduate training place at GVA Grimley at the time. They sort of saw me safely through my second year of APC, the RICS qualification, and really gave me, some fantastic background, insight into all sorts of stuff that I had never even considered that I would get into in terms of different property sectors, whether it was some of the big manufacturing, big industrial, big retail, big office stuff for the government, so hospitals. I spent most of my time actually in the valuation and the tax team. So that was
that out of choice, Rob?
No, I just think I sort of seemed to find a bit of a groove. So I sort of got in there and got on with it. It was interesting because, of course, they were going through the revaluation. So there was also a lot of stuff to go and look at. So it gave you lots of different areas rather than just one particular sector. I was also probably slightly light on the valuation for I needed to do it just to get the qualification. Qualified, pleased to say, first time round, 97. It was slightly deferred because I was having too much fun at work and didn't really have the time to study and do it, but figured out it was best to get it done and then move on. And then got into sort of the world of work, where I sort of moved through a couple of different organisations in terms of moving to agency, industrial and office. And that gave me an opportunity with one of the organisations I was working with at the time to work with one newly formed divested organisation. And the MD there became a bit of a sort of a good friend, coach, mentor, and he sort of said to me, "No, look, if you want to do more of this, you need to go further and think about doing another qualification." And for those people that know me, and bizarrely, my parents gave me my school records and reports the other day, and it's like, okay, academic work was not necessarily the thing that sort of jumped to the fore when I was at school, so I was sort of having too much fun. But he said, "Why don't you go and look at doing an MBA?" I was fortunate that at the time I was looking to do the MBA, Colliers were also looking for people at my level, and as they recruited me, I managed to twist their arm and persuade them that it would be a great opportunity for them to, take me on, but also to fund me through the MBA course.
Oh wow!
Which was great. They match funded me, so effectively I had to deliver the year. I couldn't just, take time off and have a good time. I had to actually deliver it. But they gave me the time, they gave me the support, and funding it took a huge pressure away. Very lucky living where I do in Warwick. At the time, Warwick University, the MBA there was sort of right up in terms of top schools for the UK. A brilliant course, absolutely spectacular. The market at the time in sort of 2000 through 2003 was flying, absolutely flying. So the work was just coming at you left, right, and centre, and the studying, just the pace and the energy, was brilliant. It was great. Managed to do courses with the full-time course, the modular course, part-time course, evenings, full weeks, off-site courses, and it was just great because it's such a big business school. I mean, I think they're putting through 400 or 500 people each year over the various courses. Get to mix with people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different work environments, but then also the huge international presence was brilliant. You know, you got to meet, I think the most I had on one module, probably in excess of 20 different countries represented. So, you know, getting to see that kind of environment early was just great.
Have you managed to keep in touch with any of them?
I have a good few of them, actually. They pop up now and then all over the place. And usually on random questions on LinkedIn, actually. What would you do with that sort of thing? So, but it was great. You know, I mean, having the opportunity to meet those different people, but also to then not only understand the sort of corporate real estate side of things as a subject matter, but have the ability to have a broader understanding of business change and organizational structure, more comprehensive around commercials, finance, funding, all of those areas. For me, whilst a lot of people I think were probably skeptical as to why I did the MBA when I signed up for it, my academic career wasn't necessarily a strong point, they actually took the view that, you know, for me it was something that's, I think, proven incredibly valuable in all sorts of ways, because it just gives you the confidence to start talking about other areas. You know, as a service provider, you probably use some of it. Having had the opportunity to both be service provider and go client side, and I've switched backwards and forwards a number of different times, I think it's been incredibly valuable just to understand how an organization works. But stepping in, as I said, both service provider and client side, it's then understanding how both organizations want the similar outcome, but have different priorities in getting to that outcome and different approaches. So I think for me, that was pretty key. I also wanted to make sure that I was in a position where, rather than just feeding decisions, I was actually in a position where I was able to take those decisions. So I didn't just want to be the person that was, you know, writing the report and submitting it. I definitely wanted to own the decision. So it helped tremendously.
So after the MBA, what was the first position that you had?
So I moved from that point from Colliers across to Royal Bank of Scotland.
Okay. Oh, wow. Big jump, big change.
Yeah, so
and change of city as well.
Yeah, so I went moved from the Midlands up to Edinburgh. Absolute no-brainer. Edinburgh is an amazing city, great place. All the things you want in your life outside work, so it was great. But working in what they termed at the time manufacturing, which was quite unusual. But for them, I was their sort of manufacturing strategy and acquisition surveyor there, which was all about the back office in the bank. So how does a bank work? What are the processes? What functions do they need? So everything from things like IT, data centers, for them, things like cash, coin, voucher processing centers in terms of checks, mortgage business, the call centers, you name it, all sort of fell into that manufacturing bucket. So it was varied, it was broad. There was an awful lot of stuff that they still had. They had a huge agenda. They were still in the middle of consolidating post the acquisition and the merger with NatWest. They were busy in Ireland, bringing the Ulster Bank group together. They were busy in the US. It was just a heck of an organisation to be involved with. Really big decisions, exciting stuff and projects to deal with.
And expanding hugely as well.
Yeah, I mean, I got the opportunity. I was, again, considering myself lucky, just had the chance to work on some big projects, some international projects, and then really get to sort of use some of the experience that I gained previously, some of the MBA, and actually probably at this point some really key learning from some of my colleagues, because having been a service provider, to go client side, at times everyone said, it'd be easy. Everyone always, clients always think the service providers have got it easy, and the service providers always think the clients have got it easy. I can tell you, having done both sides, it doesn't work like that. It's difficult both sides of the fence. There's a lot to do. But there's, again, lucky, big organisation, huge team, some fantastic individuals to work with who, challenged, shaped, influenced, nurtured, shouted at me occasionally, just to sort of learn more, be better in my day-to-day working. Very structured organisation, financial organisation. So it's pretty rigid, pretty inflexible at times, but great grounding for things, all the governance that we now know and love that we have to deal with. It's fantastic. You were drilled into the way that a corporate real estate function and a big organisation works, no question.
And earlier you said that you've kind of done 4 corporates and then you've kind of batted backwards and forwards. And clearly you said, there's differences, but ultimately everybody's got the same goals. If you were to give advice to kind of young people entering the real estate industry, would you tell them to do that it is an important step to actually jump backwards and forwards, both being service provider? And are there other bits of advice that you would pass on?
Personally, it's worked very well for me. I can't say any different. I've managed to make a fairly steady progression through my career into more senior positions. I think having the opportunity, if you're a service provider, to do a secondment, as I did early on at Collier's, into some of the corporate organisations, I think great insight, and it really sort of shows you whether it's something you want to do. I suspect it's not for everybody, and likewise, a service provider is not for everybody either. I think I probably made some very conscious decisions around some of the roles I took and made. So if I think about, RBS was fantastic. It gave me great depth and grounding in a whole host of areas that probably I never even realised, just didn't really even get on the radar. But I think for me, when I moved on from RBS, I was looking for I wasn't sure whether I wanted multiple client count sort of role, and I moved to DTZ, versions of that. But I wanted also probably a greater level of responsibility, and that was quite challenging. Banks, that there weren't the open opportunities. So for me, I was looking for that leadership role and the chance to own the creativity and the solution. Moving into DTZ, but then being immediately seconded to Vodafone to support some of their group transformation initiatives. Great. When they asked me to stay, with the sort of silent promise that there would be a bigger role in due course, to not only lead the UK strategy side of things, but to then run the UK function for property for Vodafone. As far as I was concerned, when I left university, that was, I wanted to be the property lead for a big FTSE 100 company. And, at the age of 35, I got there.
Yeah, tick.
It was a lot of luck, an awful lot of hard work at times, and a whole host of areas that probably weren't necessarily my core expertise. The other thing is, broadening your skill set by experiencing different industries, different sectors. Once I went into Vodafone, it wasn't just the real estate side of things. I picked up the full radio network, 20,000 plus sites across the UK, to run the team that looked after that. Health and safety, that was another whole world of learning that needed to sort of be grasped hold of. Facility management, that's not everybody's cup of tea. It just doesn't interest some people. but making sure that, for me, actually, bizarrely understanding it, being able to deliver a quality operation or a quality solution was interesting. It's a big challenge. It does make every day different, facilities management. There's no two ways about it. You never quite know how your day is going to run from the minute you start to the minute you finish. But it gave me some great and interesting opportunities to deal with their portfolio, their support, their strategy, align the property team to the business strategy, whether that was with the radio network, whether that was with the retail stores, the network, you name it. They were needing to sort of change and evolve the way they operate. No different to any other organisation, actually, in my experience. But I think as I sort of left Vodafone and had the opportunity to move from there, the one area that I hadn't really got any, well, I sort of got the senior management experience, but not necessarily the operational management experience, was I'd outsourced at Vodafone to Mighty all of the facilities management. And as I came to move, looked to move, they were securing the Rolls-Royce contract for the European business, which was across all of their different areas of expertise, whether it was the aerospace, marine business. They were again massively sort of transforming their business, modernizing a lot of their manufacturing, hugely technical environments, enormous portfolio of locations, and disciplines that, again, when I was at university, someone said to me, did you think you'd be sort of looking after this kind of product, this kind of kit on a day-to-day basis? This sort of feature is something you wanted to do? But it was everything from, your traditional hard and soft services, security, a number of the sites we had emergency response and all of that, and that had to be manned from the normal BAU day-to-day crews kind of thing. So for me, I've worked in some big organisations, and I've had the opportunity to be in senior roles to lead different functions. Being involved in the operations, being involved in real estate, being involved in strategy, every day is different, and that's what I wanted out of my career when I started out. I didn't want to do the same thing 5 days a week.
I bet. And then, Rob, you went Vodafone, then you obviously talked about the Rolls-Royce, and there's obviously the Red Hat and the BT. I mean, what jumps out from the CV is also the difference between, especially with the Red Hat, that there's the US element. So a lot of the other ones that you've spoken about are kind of very British, UK multinational. Do you also see a difference between the way that companies are managed and the way that real estate is viewed differently?
Yes, I think as you work your way around the world and you deal with different businesses, even internally, even at the moment, today I'm dealing with stuff over in Australia, I'm dealing with Hong Kong, China, Indonesia, right the way across to the US, to South America already today kind of thing. We're all trying to deliver one outcome, one team, one business, but we're all going to do it in a different way. I think more of my experience is around UK corporates and obviously UK service providers. I think they have a very what I would say for me is probably more normal, more typical a way of approaching it. The US sometimes, in my view, has been, for me, the opportunity I had within Red Hat was fantastic. Not only did I get the opportunity to see and experience the US way of working from a corporate side of things, but culturally also Red Hat operates in quite a unique way in terms of their operating model. Everything is open, and that was quite different, quite exciting, good challenge at times, but it created some fantastic opportunities, really great projects, very collaborative. It was just totally different, the concept that I was actually when I joined them, interviewed by some of the people that would be my direct reports.
Hey, what a great idea.
You know, how many organizations do that? You know, how many, you know, and that was quite interesting, you know, and I was more nervous with those interviews than some of the senior people and line managers, you know, that I'm going to be reporting to. So it's different. And I think it's probably the same if you were an Asian company coming into work in the West, vice versa. You have to just be culturally aware and probably familiar with the way that they tackle problems.
Rob, unfortunately, we've only got 4 minutes left. I think these interviews always fly by. Can you tell us with these last few minutes, for me, is what makes a good team? What are the attributes that you found makes a good team? But then also, I wouldn't mind trying to save a minute at the end, just to understand about you, your private life, how you let off steam, how you're coping with the current pandemic and the, you know, being stuck at home. Would you be able to just touch? Unfortunately, the clock is ticking, but I'd love to hear about both those aspects.
Okay, so for me, team is really important. You know, I've been fortunate. I've worked with great teams. I've managed great teams. Teams need to trust one another. They need to understand one another, and they need to be clear on what they're trying to do. If you can bring all of those components together, in my experience, you stand a much better chance of delivering a quicker, better outcome. I think where things tend to break down, in my view, is communication. And people, you know, I typically end up intervening in areas where people are sending emails rather than picking the phone up, having a conversation. I think, interestingly, the pandemic that we've seen and the impact of using video conferencing from home much more in everyday meetings, I think it's probably been quite good. People have, in a lot of organisations have played with it, but I think now it's sort of the way we work, and I think it's been good to see.
And you as an individual, Rob, I see that you know, you talked about horse in the past. You've talked about horse riding and skiing, and so you're quite an outdoor person. How do you let off steam? Because obviously your job, you're talking about talking to Australia, Hong Kong. So I assume you're working the beginning of the day and at the end of the day to cope with the different regions. How do you let off steam, and how important is that?
Getting away from work's really important from my perspective. Haven't been able to do as much as I would like. Normally I would have been probably, if I could, be on the horse 3-4 times a week at least, if not more. From my perspective, I think getting out on the mountain bike's probably as close as I've got to getting out and about. Through lockdown, it's been quite interesting. I've got 2 young kids, 5 and 7, both little girls, and they're sort of trying to explain to them what the lockdown was all about. But of course, in the role I have, actually, I've been living with this since probably late December, early January from an Asia perspective. So I've sort of seen and felt the impact of shutdown and now people starting to reopen. We actually managed sort of very badly timed the project at home, which was a complete house renovation. We ripped everything out and then we went into lockdown. So we haven't had a lot. So home comforts have been in short supply. I'm pleased to say we've now got our socially distanced builders back in the other half of the house, who are keeping quiet at the moment whilst I'm doing this call. But you know, it's been actually a great project to think through, do the design, figure out what we want to do. It's amazing what you can buy online despite the fact that we're in lockdown.
That's great. Well, best of luck with the house project. We look forward to maybe seeing photos in due course. But Robert, unfortunately, the time is up. So we've had no chance to table the questions that have been posed. I know some of you have posed questions, but we'll try to review them and come back to you who you have. But Robert, from all of us, thank you so much for this very informal and relaxed half hour with you. We thoroughly enjoyed listening to your career history. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody else, for joining.